Welcome back to Bitcoin Season 2 by Blockspace Media. I'm your host, Charlie Spears. This is the live stream. I do this every Monday around noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, and whatever that is in UTC. Thanks for joining. Make sure to check out other Blockspace Media content. Hit our website, blockspace.media. Sign up for the newsletter. Some interesting stuff coming out. We've got some additional mining content. And check out the Gwart Show, check out the Mining Pod, and check out our new show, the Bitcoin Stock Show. So if you are into the equities side of things, it's socially acceptable shitcoining, but for equities. So you Bitcoin hardcore folks can finally start trading something that isn't Bitcoin itself while not being excommunicated. So today we are talking about Metaprotocols on Bitcoin. We'll be hitting SUBFROST, OPNET, Fractal Bitcoin, which is a sidechain, but Metaprotocols on that. So stick around to the end of the show. I'm going to kick it off with some metrics. If you're listening to this, this is mostly visual, and this is a live stream, so I'm kind of running off the cuff here. But let's just kick it off with some metrics. This is the dashboard from Data Always. And frankly, I'm not even going to dive into it very much because Ordinals activity and script activity is very, very down. Just to give you a sense for like how down it is, these Dune dashboards have to be manually triggered to be updated. And I was the first person to rerun the metrics on these dashboards in 7 days. So I was the only person to have touched this dashboard, which is, I think, the best Ordinals metrics dashboard in a week. That's just how bad down we are. Now, yes, I mean, activity is creeping up. I'm going to just skip on to the next thing. Domo's dashboard, an idea of like marketplace health. Over 500,000 users. We creeped over 3 million trades, 4.4 million in volume. And I'll also make this. I was the first person to have to run these dashboard calculations again in 3 days. So this is again, outdated information. Volume across all marketplaces for Ordinals specifically is still anemic and declining. What will it take to bring back this marketplace and this ecosystem? I don't know. It may be newfound created wealth in the world of Metaprotocols on Bitcoin, which we'll get to. Going to Magic Eden. This is the 7-day view. It's kind of the same. It's a lot of the same collections as normal, as it has been, except for we've got a few new entrants here. FTW, which is I want to be nice here. It's kind of like a Puppets style knockoff. That got a lot of attention. It has a Magic Eden diamonds or points incentive to it, and then Domo Ducks, which is over the past 24 hours been your hot new NFT or inscription project. There is an associated BRC20, which is getting hot on Unisat's Fractal testnet. There's a lot going on here. Otherwise, a lot of the same folks, Node Monks, Puppets, Cats, OMB, those have stayed roughly the same, with RSIC getting a bit of a bump again over the past week as the Twitter account became active again. So that's all it takes. As far as runes, I'm going to dive into the details on runes very much, but you can get the idea. Looks like we had a Pico low in overall runes market cap of 600 million on August 4th, and now we're at $783 million for total runes. Casey is not happy as we see this beautiful indicator on Genie data, which means that runes is currently under $1 billion total market cap. We've seen a couple like runes mints pop off, but it really hasn't filtered across the whole market. As far as news this past week, I think maybe the notable news was SatFlow going public and announcing its round led by Variant. And most notably, I believe this is Coinbase Ventures' first investment into the Ordinals ecosystem. I actually think this might be Coinbase Ventures' first check into a like Bitcoin only company in a long time. So shout out Robert Clark and the gang for that. SatFlow is an Ordinals sniping tooling, and I just, my subjective experience having tried them all, it's the best performant. But regardless, the Ordinals typing landscape is heating up. If you want to hear about just general MEV on Bitcoin, I would recommend you listen to the most recent Bitcoin Season 2 episode, which is on the YouTube channel from Rebar Labs. Speaking of just kind of like financialization of interesting things happening in Bitcoin block space beyond MEV, Alkimiya is announced their fee rate trading competition. Alkimiya 777 trading competition. This is basically a competition to see who can have the best P&L for fee rate trading on Bitcoin over this particular I think 2-week cycle. If you want to know more about Alkimiya, go listen to my interview with Leo Zhang, who is the founder of Alkimiya. And that was from a few weeks ago. That's from, I think, I believe, early August. So again, that's a Bitcoin Season 2 episode. But it's kind of interesting because if you go here, there's a bunch of different people this might apply to. But right now, you can basically speculate on fee rates on Bitcoin. Yes, this is a product that trades on Coinbase's base, but it uses a Bitcoin node as Oracle for fee rates. So I feel like I pretty much trust this. You can't currently execute these style transactions on Bitcoin L1, but you can if you're not a U.S. resident, or perhaps I say U.S. IP. You can go and trade fee rates. Who might this apply to? Let's say you've made it this far and you're an Ordinals enjoyer and you want to inscribe a bunch of stuff on Bitcoin, but you're worried about fee rates going up while you prepare. You can actually hedge your fee rates on this platform. It's really, really interesting. I'm a huge fan. If I were not a U.S. resident, I would be much more publicly using it. So this is the fee rate trading competition. I think we're only a few days into it. So fascinating. They talked about who's leading it. They have a leaderboard with anonymized addresses, but we can see that we've got some people with 15%, 0.8, 87% return. So pretty interesting. I'll be watching that. Also, in the world of, I would say, Bitcoin Season 2 type topics, we have Babylon Labs. Babylon Chain just dropped a podcast last night with the founder, David Say, of Babylon. Babylon is launching their mainnet staking this week. If you don't know what Bitcoin staking is, I'm not going to explain it. It's basically you can use the idea is you use Bitcoin, which is a proof of work generated asset, to solve some issues with proof of stake. So I had an interview with David Say with Babylon Labs, which is on the YouTube right now, the most recent episode. Babylon has just opened up their staking mainnet in, I think, 48 hours. So we'll be watching this. This happens, I think, on Wednesday, US time. It might be Thursday. This is a really interesting mechanic. I think, this is, I believe, the highest raise of any kind of Bitcoin-focused product over the past year. They raised something like 70 million for this idea. And they're launching with staking some like low-cap Cosmos Cosmos chains. Again, you can listen to my episode with David recorded in Nashville a few weeks ago. So I think this is a really, really interesting episode. I recommend you check it out. Okay, Metaprotocol madness. I'm going to have to breeze through this, and if you are a representative of any of these metaprotocols or metaprotocol type things, please forgive me. I'm going to try to be very high level, probably dive deeper into Bob Bodley has been one of the best voices for summarizing all these crazy new ideas happening in the world of Bitcoin. I don't want to endorse any single one. I just find it very, very interesting. So Bob has compiled a master thread. He posted a link to all the threads a few days ago, but he covers a lot of the stuff. And we're just going to kick it off with, I would call, like, these degen, like, sidechain metaprotocol evolutions on Bitcoin. The first one is going to be Fractal Bitcoin, which is a Bitcoin sidechain. It's a merge mine sidechain, which means you can use the same like machine that would mine Bitcoin to then also mine this sidechain. And they have this mechanism called cadence mining, where they produce a block on Bitcoin and they produce a few blocks on Fractal Bitcoin. It is a different blockchain, but it posts state or Merkle roots, I believe, back to Bitcoin occasionally. The actual documentation is not fully dropped yet. I will be interviewing the lead guy of Unisat and Fractal Bitcoin, Lorenzo, here very soon. So DM me if you have any questions for that. I think one of the interesting things here is, well, actually, let me just show that, they have a testnet and an explorer, so you can go look and you can see like what transactions are happening on testnet, who's doing what on testnet. You can go look up like your addresses. There's a faucet. There have been other faucets to receive testnet Fractal Bitcoin. I think that's a really interesting, event happening in Bitcoin overall, specifically Bitcoin mining, as I think it's really the first major user traction on a sidechain that I have seen in a long time. You still have Rootstock, which has a lot of TVL locked up in it. You've got Liquid, which is not merge mine, but it is a sidechain, basically with a federated bridge. But one interesting thing when it comes to metaprotocols, I want to zoom back again and say Ordinals itself is a metaprotocol scheme. It's taking a new lens at how Bitcoin works and saying that we're just going to all agree to some rules, which we will add in addition to how Bitcoin works. And so on top of Ordinals and the inscription envelope data blob, we saw pretty early on the BRC20 metaprotocol emerge, which is just saying we're sending messages back and forth about token issuance and token state. So BRC20 is a metaprotocol on top of Ordinals, which is a metaprotocol, you could say, on top of Bitcoin. So Unisat has been in the driver's seat for the BRC20 standard since day one. And they are now allowing issuance, or they say that they will allow issuance of BRC20s onto Fractal Bitcoin. Now, is a Fractal Bitcoin BRC20 the same thing as a BRC20 on the main chain? It's not clear. In fact, it actually probably depends upon who is indexing the state of these BRC20s. What does that mean? I hope to dive into it deeper in a newsletter coming out tomorrow morning. So make sure you subscribe to blockspace.media and subscribe to our newsletter and follow us on our social media. So this is the most interesting evolution in the BRC20 meta protocol that I've seen. And if you look at there's been a lot of discussion on who is controlling the indexers. You have the Layer 1 Foundation, who says we want to try to open source these indexers. We want to try to let everyone participate in providing BRC20 state. And Unisat has kind of run along and done their own thing and pretty much led the market as they drive most of the inscription volume and trading volume. So now they are looking at Fractal Bitcoin, which is their own blockchain, and saying, let's see if we can do BRC20s, but on Fractal. My question is, do those count on the main chain? So we'll have to see. Again, it's very interesting. I think it's mostly popular in Asia. I will be talking more about this as it continues to dominate the narrative. Then we have SUBFROST, which is probably a new name to most of you who are watching this because your lizard brains only think of OPNET or Fractal or TRAC. But SUBFROST is this concept that we're going to make a metaprotocol layer, which says we're going to allow you to use assets and index all of the different meta protocols. This is from the Oil team, the Metashrew team. Again, I already did an interview with them kind of at the very start of Bitcoin Season 2. You can see it in one of our first episodes. Go look at our historical episodes on the YouTube channel, Bitcoin Season 2. It's first 3 or 4 episodes. And the high-level idea here is that you basically create a Taproot multisig, which is a federated multisig, which plugs into the Metashrew metaprotocol indexing suite, and you can create wrapped Bitcoin, which will be tracked by probably a rune, I believe, issued on here. which we will consider to be a synthetic wrapped Bitcoin equivalent that you can plug into the different meta protocols. It's very interesting because at the same time that we see the wrapped Bitcoin wars heating up, I'm probably the first person to even use this term, the wrapped Bitcoin wars happening on ETH, we are seeing now the wrapped Bitcoin proliferation, the wrapped Bitcoin standard proliferation happen on Bitcoin. I think this is coincidental, but it's really interesting how they're happening at the same time, because I think the big narrative here is that people are realizing that Bitcoin is the pristine monetary asset. So we're trying to figure out how to plug Bitcoin into these other layers so we can do more things with it. You might notice that I just talked about Babylon Chain, and that is one which promotes yield on your Bitcoin. Again, Bitcoin as the pristine collateral. This is a narrative which I think Bitcoin Season 2 will focus a lot on. Not just the podcast, but the secular, bigger Bitcoin Season 2 narrative. It actually, SUBFROST uses a Frost multisig, which I think is really interesting. There's not a lot of teams that can actually execute with Frost. This is a new type of like threshold signing and new type of way of building multisigs. Not multisigs, or just providing additional rule sets and knobs to twist for the conventional multi-sig solution. Frost in general has actually been kind of a hardcore Bitcoin developed, I would say, mechanism on Bitcoin. So I'm interested to see. I'd like to have the oil and MetaShrew guys talk about SUBFROST here very soon. Then we're going to talk about more meta protocols. I mentioned this the other week, but we have OPNET, which is from the team who conceived CBRC20, and then MotoSwap, and then didn't really deliver a whole lot to market with either of those, but they got a lot of talk going. They got a lot of degens frothing, and they have some very, very, very spicy goading, baiting takes. That said, this does appear to me to be something that they might actually deliver, which is a new meta protocol standard to index data blobs on Bitcoin. What does that mean? They're basically going to post operations in inscriptions or inscription type objects on Bitcoin and index those with logic with their own indexer. This is very similar to the proto runes idea. In fact, it's almost identical, and it's kind of a race to market who can deliver the smart indexing product first. But the OPNET team seems to be kind of BD monsters right now. Look at this list of different Twitter accounts, all of whom claim to be launching different products on OPNET. We will see if this actually does go live. This is kind of incumbent upon that team to like turn the switch on, go live, and start indexing according to OPNET rule set. But the cool thing about a lot of these meta protocols, just in general, is that you can overlay them on top of merge mine sidechains like Fractal. That means that if it is depending on the design, it is conceivable that you could take a meta protocol which works on Bitcoin and then place it on top of a sidechain like Fractal, or maybe even Liquid or Rootstock. I'm not sure how that would work. But this is a very interesting trend that's happening. I kind of wonder, I'm speculating out loud here, I wonder if this is all just like, just kind of like just a mania that we've manifested for ourselves. That like, it's a very interesting topic to me in particular, and I wonder if any of this stuff will actually be used. I think the main takeaway is that if it is used, it will generate a lot of additional data on chain. It's got all the ingredients to, like, if you think that arbitrary data on Bitcoin is going to be a big deal, then this is arbitrary data on steroids, more so than your big fancy JPEGs. No meta protocol on Bitcoin topic would be complete without, I would say, the OG one kind of after Ordinals, which is TRAC, which says they were kind of the first to do this, almost like, I believe it was really floated in November of this past year. where originally as an alternative indexer to Ord, now an alternative indexer to BRC20, and now they've kind of proliferated into their entire ecosystem they call the TRAC ecosystem. I know it's a bit of a meme to anybody listening right now, but it could be. I do think they've been working on this type of system and structure for the longest, and I find it pretty interesting. They're well positioned. They have a pretty distributed set of tokens. I don't know where this is going to go, but I've tried to like hit the names and the high points of the various players in the space right now, and I'll probably try to find out and track down some more. Before I wrap up, I want to go to Bless's live stream. Shout out to my boy Bless, who is on day 4 of an art project stream where he is live streaming him making 3D art to thousands of people. He has locked himself in a room somewhere in Los Angeles, and he is here in VR, barely sleeping, barely eating, maybe not even eating at all, working on 3D art. So I don't know what he's doing here. He's been live for forever. This man is a machine. Go tune into his stream and support him. Otherwise, that wraps up Bitcoin Season 2. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe to the newsletter. I'll be diving deeper into a lot of these topics that I talked about. I kind of brushed them over and oversimplified them at a very high level. But I do think meta protocols on Bitcoin are a major trend and something to be very attentive to, because they could start to really drive fee rates. As always, check out other Blockspace Media content, The Gwart Show, The Mining Pod, Bitcoin Stock Show, and check out our newsletter, blockspace.media/subscribe. Otherwise, thank you very much and see you all next week.